All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's show on a special Thursday night, coming to you with something that we've been waiting to share with you guys for a long time. I know I have been. This has been eating me up inside for probably the last 6 months. I'm not even being sarcastic when I tell you this, folks. What you guys are going to hear tonight is just a presentation of what citizens have been doing for the last 2 years, and with no help whatsoever from any investigative authorities. They've turned their blind eye to what went on in the 2020 election, what went on in the 2022 primaries so far. It's actually really disgusting and infuriating, and we're hoping that right now, tonight, all right, we can show you guys some evidence that is going to just make you say, what the bleep, we need to check this out. All right, so without further ado, guys, what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to bring in my guests real quick, and then from there, we're going to try and knock out about a 20-minute condensed version of this, just facts, just hammering it at you, and giving you the whole story as to what we're presenting. And then from there, we'll go a little bit longer and start getting into the nitty-gritty of everything. So don't be alarmed if you're watching this after the live stream. Don't be alarmed if you see that 1 hour and however many minutes down there in the bottom corner. Don't worry about that. You're going to be able to get all the deets, so to speak, the important details you'll be able to get in about 15 to 20 minutes, hopefully. Might go a little bit over, but yeah. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring in my guests for tonight. We've got Mr. David Cross as well as Mr. Kevin Moncla. David, how are you doing, sir?
Doing excellent.
Awesome. And then Kevin, how are you doing, man?
Exhausted, but loving it.
This has been incredible. I've been talking back and forth with you guys for probably the last 5 or 6 months. This has been one of the hardest secrets to keep, as you guys have been trying to, put this together in a way that the right people would see it and do something. And we'll get into that aspect of this towards the end. But before that, I want to jump right in and kind of go through the major points here. So if at any point, guys, if I say something that's, either out of line or out of place or needs a correction, don't hesitate to stop me. And all right, let's take it away, folks. So first and foremost, back on March 31st of 2022, the US EAC issued a report, and you're going to see that report right here. And we do have to go over this report because it is the crux of everything that these gentlemen have found. And without this report, none of this stuff would really mean much. Now, I want to start here with this part of the report where it says election officials may submit notices of voting system anomalies directly to the EAC. An anomaly is defined as an irregular or inconsistent action or response from the voting system or the system component, which resulted in the system or component not functioning as intended or expected. Anomaly reports may indicate a voting system is not in compliance with the voluntary voting system guidelines or the procedural requirements of the EAC testing and certification program. All right. Now, on October 26, 2021, there was an anomaly found in Williamson County, Tennessee, specifically in the city of Franklin. The close of poll reports from 7 of the 18 ICP tabulators there used during the election did not match the number of ballots that were scanned. All right. Now, the details of this anomaly were confirmed and reproduced during the state investigation, though the root cause of the anomaly was not determined. That is going to be really important, that this was not determined. Now, in the formal investigation, the EAC initiated a formal investigation into the matter to determine the necessary actions to obtain the root cause and remedy the issue. The investigation was conducted at the Williamson County Elections Commission facility on January 19th through January 22nd, 2022. This analysis was performed by both the EAC-accredited VSTLs, Pro-V&V, and SLI compliance. The EAC, Williamson County staff, the Tennessee Secretary of State, and Dominion staff were present during the analysis. Now, that's important to lay out who was actually there, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the nitty-gritty part. All right, so the testing and analysis, the first step of the VSTL analysis was verification of the system configuration. Hashes of all components involved were collected and compared to the repository of hashes for the EAC certified system. It was discovered that the system was installed with the outdated versions of 2 configuration files when the system was upgraded from the Democracy Suite 5.5 to Democracy 5.5B in January 2021. All right. An analysis of the audit log. This is where it gets really important, folks. This is where you need to pay attention. An analysis of the audit log information revealed entries coincided with the manifestation of the anomaly, a security error, quote unquote, QR code signature mismatch, and a warning message, quote, ballot format or ID is unrecognizable, end quote, indicating a QR code misread occurred. When these events were logged, the ballot was rejected. Subsequent resetting of the ICP scanners and additional tabulation demonstrated that each instance of the anomaly coincided with the previously mentioned audit log entries, though not every instance of those audit log entries resulted in the anomaly. Following the anomaly, ballots successfully scanned and tabulated by the ICP were not reflected in the closed poll reports or on the affected ICP scanners. A final test was performed using an election definition recreated entirely on the D Suite 5.5B system with identical parameters to the definitions used during the election and for prior testing. The anomaly was not observed during this test, and there were no instances of the security error QR signature mismatch or the warning message ballot format ID is unrecognizable. So in just a summary, guys, what happened is this machine would run, you'd be running ballots through, and all of a sudden you would get this error where it would say a QR code mismatch in the system's log files. This isn't something that would pop up on the screen. This is something that you have to see when you go into the forensics, not the forensics per se, but you look at the system log files and you start analyzing what the machine did and why there was an error. And this is what it was spitting out. QR code mismatch followed by ballot ID unrecognizable. Now, let me read from the conclusions right here. The direct cause of the anomaly was inconclusive. That is an extremely, extremely important sentence. On February 11, 2022, Dominion submitted the root cause analysis to the EAC. The report indicates that erroneous code is present in the EAC certified Democracy Suite 5.5B and 5.5C systems. The RCA report states that when the anomaly occurs, it's due to a misread of the QR code. Now, let me just get this out right here. There is no such thing as a misread of a QR code. A QR code is read one way. Am I correct on that? We've talked to several experts about that. All right, let me keep reading here. Go ahead, David.
This Kevin, I just said that's correct.
Okay. All right. So if the QR code misread affects a certain part of the QR code, the ICP scanner mistakenly interprets a bit in the code that marks the ballot as provisional. Once that misread happens, the provisional flag is not properly reset after that ballot's voting session. The result is that every ballot scanned and tabulated by the machine after that misread is marked as provisional, and thus not included in the tabulator's closed poll report totals. The modified ICP source code was submitted by Dominion that resets the provisional flag following each voting system. So the reason I highlight that, David, you know why I highlighted that, right?
Yep.
They didn't fix anything. They just said that when this happens, we're just going to reset it. They didn't figure out what happened and how to fix it. They just said when it happens, we're just going to reset it, and then everything's fine. We're not worried.
It's just a workaround. It's just a workaround that once the flag goes up, we're going to push the flag back down. We don't know why it went up, but we're going to push it down.
It's like when the check engine light on your car comes in, you go to AutoZone, and you're like, hey, clear the check engine light.
Right.
Oh, look, now it's good. Or you take the piece of tape and you put it over the dash. You put the tape over the dash. All right, guys. I know we have another guest that's going to join us right now, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him in now that he had a phone call come up, so we had to kind of hold him off. So, Mr. Jeff Lenberg, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Sorry about that. Sorry, just right at the time you guys were starting, I had to take that, but I'm doing well.
No problem. You are an extremely important man, sir, and we're going to be delighted to have your feedback and input as we go through this. So now that we have a general idea of what happened in Williamson, okay, this is bona fide. This happened in Williamson. They ran the machines through the ballots through. It would trigger this QR code mismatch. That ballot would be put in an adjudication file, and every ballot after that would also be put in the provisional file. The adjudication, well, provisional file. Let's call it provisional. Okay, so now let's jump into the state election board complaint that David and Kevin both filed. When did you file it? Yesterday?
Yeah, I turned in the rough draft yesterday, and Judge Duffy asked for additional details today, and I told him this is the rough copy. We need to add some things to it, but yeah, he was kind of disappointed in me and Kevin going back with him in the last day or so. He was really disappointed with the fact that we couldn't get this information to him sooner. And I said, if the Secretary of State's office hadn't unlawfully blocked us from getting files from all over the different counties, we would have had this a lot sooner. Because like you said, we've been working on this for a long, long time.
Yes. All right, so let's go through this complaint real quick, and then from there, like I said, folks, we're gonna go through this quickly so you don't have to sit here for an hour and you don't get turned off by the time. So let me read through this real quick, and then we'll actually get into a conversation about this and talk about what happened. All right, so this is the official complaint. We are part of a volunteer team called the Election Oversight Group. And guys, on that note, I am going to throw up this banner. If you guys can, please donate to these gentlemen here. The Election Oversight Group, givesendgo.com. They are going to, and we'll get into what they're going to do coming up in the future, but they are going to take this fight to them. And I'm telling you right now, nobody has worked harder on the elections in Georgia specifically than these gentlemen. And I also want to throw some love at Garland and that group over there, because they've done a lot of work. And David, you worked hand in hand with them for a long time. So yeah, I don't want to, cast a shadow over somebody else in this. So here we go. We are part of a volunteer team called the Election Oversight Group, investigating irregularities in Georgia elections. We are writing to file an urgent complaint regarding a technical failure identified by the United States EAC that affects Dominion precinct scanners in Georgia, causing the machines to miscount votes. We discovered an error that affects the functioning of Georgia's Dominion precinct level scanners and tabulators. The error caused the devices to undercount votes. Let's go through the highlights in here. And then, so this part right here, we're just going through the Williamson report that we just went through. You see the QR code mismatch, the ballot format ID unrecognizable. They're just summarizing right here at this part, what we just read with the EAC. So I don't want you guys to think I'm skipping over anything crazy here. All right. So now we get to this part here. We asked Jonathan Panic, the EAC author of the Williamson County, Tennessee report, if the EAC found the anomaly in any other areas of the country. And this is what he replied. He said, quote, the EAC received one report of the issue occurring. As part of the investigation process, the issue was communicated out to all affected jurisdictions. No additional reports were received. Okay, well, now you're going to have an additional report. Our group then placed open records requests for all 159 counties in Georgia to determine if the same error found in Williamson was present in Georgia. After being unlawfully blocked and significantly delayed by the Secretary of State's office, we were able to obtain data files from 66 of the 159 Georgia counties. So far, 64 of the 66 counties, 97%, have precinct scanners exhibiting the same error reported in the EAC or by the EAC in the Williamson County, Tennessee, that still have no known cause or resolution. 97%, folks. 64 out of 66 counties in Georgia have the same exact QR code signature mismatch and the ballot ID unrecognizable. All right. And here's just a list of the counties that they have. You can't really see it too well. Maybe if I make it like full screen there.
Well, there's only two counties that are on the entire list. There's 66 that you're looking at right there. Fannin County and Pulaski County, I believe, are the ones that didn't have any errors in their code. And my understanding is the reason why Fannin doesn't was because immediately after installing the machines, they went down and they had to be replaced. So we don't understand what happened with Pulaski, but the population there is really tiny. So it could be just a small sample size.
All right, so let's read on here. In addition, we found another issue regarding the software on Georgia's precinct level scanners. The software in question is version 5.5.3-0002, number 2. The current software version was created on Friday, July 27th, 2018. This date is concerning because this software has been running on the Dominion precinct scanners throughout Georgia since the scanners were initially installed. The implication is that defective software has been causing scanners to tabulate incorrectly since installation. For instance, our team obtained scanner slogs from the Gwinnett County 2020 primary. We found 84 instances of the same Williamson County, Tennessee error in Gwinnett County's 2020 primary file alone. And you can see here, guys, if you can see the QR code signature mismatch right here, QR code signature mismatch, and right underneath it, ballot format or ID is unrecognizable. The same exact error that the EAC wrote a report in Tennessee, and Tennessee threw away the machines as a result. All right, and here's a letter from the Secretary of State of Tennessee, and that's it, guys. We did that pretty well.
You hit it
in like 17 minutes. I'm good. I'm giving myself a pat
on
on
the back. Jeff doesn't know, because Jeff, we were trying to, some of these podcasts can go on for like an hour or 2 hours sometimes, and I said we got to really get the message out there like in 20 minutes or less. And so now I think people hopefully understand what the gist of the story is. So the bottom line is that there was this error that we didn't even really know it existed. Kevin and one of our other researchers happened to stumble across this, and what they found was really troublesome, because if you remember from Williamson County, Tennessee, one of the things that we didn't cover here was that it was initially discovered in an elementary school, one of the precincts. This is in October of 2021, so just last year. It was for an alderman that was being elected, or it was alderman's election. There were 330 paper ballots inside two of these scanners, but a total of only 98 ballots were tabulated. So that means 70% of the ballots, 232 ballots, were not counted, just ignored. And the whole point was on that night, somebody said, wow, that's interesting. It didn't count all the votes. And that's like the shot heard around the world with regard to these machines, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think you're aware, guys, that I did a breakdown on this Williamson, Tennessee thing on a podcast. I think it was on Conservative Daily a few weeks back. And my conclusion is that's the worst investigation I've ever seen. They could not determine what the problem was. They put a patch on the symptom. They then submitted to the EAC and said, please recertify us because we put a patch on the symptom, not knowing what the problem is. Right. And the EAC agreed and said, you're recertified, go for it. They never determined why the QR code was misread. They never even determined if it was the ICX that generated a bad QR code or if it was the ICP misreading the QR code. We don't really know because they didn't get that far. They didn't determine it. Any, really qualified investigator would have dug down until they found out what the real problem was. And in the end, they handed it over to the voting machine company, Dominion, and said, here, you do a root cause analysis. And that's when they came back with the ridiculous answer was, well, we'll patch the symptom. And then we put in an engineering change request for the patch to the symptom, not knowing why in the world the QR code was broken in the first place. And there's a glaring thing in their root cause analysis when they say, okay, it's because of a QR code misread. So their software, and it's in the log file, said the QR code was misread. And then they go on to say, and after that, after knowing that the QR code is misread, we misinterpreted one of the bits and set a provisional flag.
Yes.
Excuse me. If you misread a QR code, you would not do anything with that. It's garbage. You don't go off and set a bit of any sort after misreading anything. Okay, so they knew the code knew it misread it, and then to claim that it somehow went off and set a bit that, oh, by the way, it wasn't properly cleared. And I pointed out in that other podcast that, guys, this is literally what you learn in the first week of a programming class. Is if you create a variable, you initialize it. And if you go around a loop in a variable, you reinitialize it each time around the loop to whatever state you want it to be in. And so for them to say, oh yeah, we had this variable, oh yeah, it gets set, it does this kind of drastic thing, which is throws a ballot into a separate bin, and oh, we forgot to reinitialize it around the loop. I mean, okay, if they really did, they're incompetent, and they shouldn't be anywhere near our election systems, okay? And where's the testing companies? Where's the certification companies? This is testing 101. This kind of thing should have been a test case that they could have easily tested and found. So the developers should have found it. The testing organizations, the certifying organizations should have found it. And the fact that they didn't means we're talking minimum a bunch of incompetent folks. And worst case, willfully ignorant about it. Okay. I don't know which, but you would never accept as a root cause analysis, oh, we forgot to clear the bit, we'll just clear the bit. Oh, we're good to go. Not knowing what caused the QR code misread, or why after the misread they would go do something with the data from the QR code. I mean, it's total absurdity. Their explanation does not hold water.
I think it's a feature. I don't think it's a bug.
It does not hold water. Okay, that is totally unbelievable.
And let me
should have never been recertified.
Let me just. I just want to throw this out there for those of you. I mean, Jeff, this is like your third show today. So for those of you that don't know who Jeff Lenberg is heavily involved in the Otero, New Mexico audit that they did out there with Professor David Clements and his wife, Erin Clements. He was part of Matt DePerno's expert witness team up in Antrim County. He's the one that actually did the flip on the Dominion machine on live television on OANN, where he literally took the machine and said, look, I just got to switch a couple things around here. And boom, we scanned 7 Biden ballots and it came out 4, or vice versa. I don't remember the exact numbers. And Jeff, one of the things that we talked about in our Sunday podcast that we did together, which guys, go check that out. It's long, but it's excellent. You have like one of the highest security clearances in the country for civilians, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I don't have any clearances anymore. Once I left, and once Snowden hit, they pulled all of our clearances. Those of us that were in reserve, because of Snowden, they pulled everybody's clearances.
Okay, but you were and we read the affidavit from his former boss, who, by the way, is a retired colonel and an astronaut. So, I mean, you want to talk about credibility right there? I mean, how many astronauts are there in this country? Like less than 2 dozen? I don't even know how many, but impeccable credentials. Jeff, you're not going to find much about Jeff Lenberg online because the kind of work he does isn't the stuff that you and I hear about in the daily. And so as a vulnerabilities tester, your opinion is incredibly important to me. And when you make assertions like this, that one of the assertions from your former boss in the affidavit that he wrote about you, I want to read this because this quote is so important, and I can't stress this quote enough.
It's unbelievable.
One of the most common vulnerabilities exploited is the natural human tendency to assume that a discrepancy is the result of an error rather than the product of a deliberate act. And I'm attributing that to Sidney McNeil Gutierrez.
Definitely. That's, that was part of our job. I mean, being a vulnerability assessment expert at the national level, if you're going to protect against nation states coming against us, look, they're really, really good at what they do, and they're going to hide their stuff really, really, really well. So you've got to look for any tiny anomaly. You spot those things and you say, wait a second, this doesn't look quite right. And then you dig and you dig and you dig. And so, and then quite often as a result of that, if you dig enough, you can actually start to find some things. And we became very good at that. I think Sid said there, he considered it world-class, maybe the best in the world capability.
All right. So now, David, I want to go back to you and Kevin and the work that you guys have been doing. Like I said, I've been kind of in the know on all this, and I've had to keep it all quiet. It's been like, I mean, I've wanted to scream it as loud as I can. And I keep telling people like, hey, just calm down. We're doing some great work. We got some great findings. We're going to bring all this out when the timing is right. What made the timing right now? What is it that happened now that all of a sudden you're like, okay, we got to do it this way?
Coffee County.
Yeah. Coffee County has a lot to do with it. And the fact that the elections are rapidly approaching right now. And, and it was approaching so rapidly that, and we were being hindered, honest to God. Blake Evans and Ryan Germany at the Secretary of State's office, they were literally telling the counties, you can't give them that information because it'll compromise the election. And that's a bunch of garbage, because if you go to San Francisco County, California, and look on their elections website, they've got slog files all over the place. Hell, they've even got the cast vote record right there. And to this day right now, when it comes to the cast vote record for Fulton County, I've been trying to get it for 4 months from Fulton County. And they keep saying, it's like little orphan Annie, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. It's just,
in 2
the
years
obstruction that we're dealing with is unbelievable.
Go ahead, Kevin.
We still don't have 2020 CBR.
Right. Well, I've been involved. I did an open records request for Floyd County, which is one of the counties that you guys got the slogs for. And it was funny because they sent me the slogs for the early in-person voting up until a certain day. Nothing from the election day voting, nothing from November 3rd. And then it picks up again at November 24th. And originally they charged me $180 for these open records. And they said, we can't give them to you in a digital format. They had to print them. So I had a stack of paper like that big, no joke, 700 pages. 700 pages. We're in a paper shortage, and they couldn't give them to me in a PDF. So I told me and Kevin were talking about this, and I said, I'm going to buy them. I'm going to pay the 180. And then after that, that's when we bring out that Nancy Pelosi's district out in San Francisco posts some open source online, and you can download them. So we were able to get them as a PDF. But then so here's where my beef comes, is I wrote an article about them, and it probably wasn't a very welcoming article for people of Floyd County. I write for the Gateway Pundit, for those of you that don't know. So check out Gateway Pundit, Brian Lupo. You can see my articles. And, I talked about, we'll play the video here in a second to talk about Floyd County's excess votes, but I asked them for the 2022 primary slogs as well. And they sent me back a file about a week later. They sent me back a link. And when you click on the link, it was a document that was 7,000 pages long. It had about 10 characters on each page. And it turns out that it was the election night reporting. It wasn't the slog files. So somebody deliberately, and me and Kevin went through this data, somebody deliberately took this file, converted it from an Excel spreadsheet to a notepad document, and then blew up all the font to 72 point or whatever it was, converted it to a PDF, and then sent it to me. It's the most disgusting obstruction that I've seen. And look, I guarantee you somebody from Floyd County elections is listening right now. Get me the damn files. I requested them on August 26th. It's now September 29th, and I still haven't gotten the damn files.
Well, you can file an action against them. You can file a lawsuit, and for every violation, it's a $1,000 initial fine, and for every subsequent violation, it's $2,500 fine to the county. And
Ryan Germany is going to pick it up for us.
And if
Ryan Germany is going to pick up the money for us and bring it over
in a suitcase.
Fulton County is going to owe us a pile of money.
All right, so
we're literally at the point right now. We're going to have to, we're going to have to get attorneys involved, and I've got some Matlock wannabe lawyer that's down in Lowndes County, Georgia, which is Valdosta, and he's saying, "Oh, we got the files for you. They're printed out in the banker's box, and you can make an appointment, come down here and inspect them, and make copies of those yourself." And it's just like, what is it, 1860 right now? We got to go down and make copies of it and inspect the files. It's obscene.
I got the perfect lawyer for you guys in Georgia. Ready?
Everything that guy just said is bullshit.
Come on, my cousin Vinny. That was Alabama, though. That was Alabama, not Georgia. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about what this all means, okay? these slog files, if they act in Georgia the same way, and we're not saying that they necessarily do, but we're saying that we need to investigate. We need to see the paper ballots, and we need to do a legit hand count. All right. David Cross did some incredible work, as well as Joe Rossi ended up taking on some of that work as well. And you guys did a lot of analysis on the hand recount in Georgia. And even Philip Stark, the inventor of the risk limiting audit, said the hand recount in Georgia was absolute crap. It was crap.
Yeah, he called it a Franken count.
A Franken count. There you go. And nothing in it matches. And then you switch over to the machine recount that they started in late November, and that doesn't make sense because you're missing the ballot images from the initial count, and they just added in the new ballot images, and you're supposed to just, hey, we reconciled it. Everything matches up, but you can't compare the two. That's exactly what it was. Short. So that's Kevin. That's the excellent point, because we had 3 or 4 counties in Georgia, and we can all remember this going back to November 16th, right around there. We had Floyd County that popped up 2,600 missing votes. We had Fayette County that had 2,700 missing votes. And then we had smaller counties, like I think Douglas was missing votes, and Warren, I think, was the 4th one that were missing votes. That they found votes, I should say. They found votes. And when you're doing a hand recount and you start being like at the end, you're like, crap, why do I have more ballots than I have votes? And then you see something in the slog files like what we found now with Williamson compared to Georgia. That kind of raises some questions, doesn't it?
It does. And then you have what happened in DeKalb. Not only was Michelle Long Spears not only did she go from losing to winning, they also found, was it 1,800 or 2,800 ballots in addition to that weren't counted. And you had
found those inside the machines.
They found those inside the machines? David, you said they found those inside the machines?
Yes, sir.
That's my understanding. They found them inside the machine. So that would lead you to believe that this Williamson error that's in there, was responsible for that. And I'm going to continue to refer to and continue to call it the Williamson error, and not the QR code mismatch, right? Because the Secretary of State of Georgia is going to announce, if he hasn't already, that they're removing the QR codes. Or they will be removing them from the ballots, and they're going to say, and that makes it all magically disappear, and everything's cool, and it's not. This is a software issue.
Yeah, let me jump in and tell you why it's not. One reason it's not is these reversals, high rate of reversals that are occurring, whereby weird things can happen to your ballots, right? Get shipped off if it's programmed. These things are configurable a gazillion different ways, and so if something goes wrong, it can ship your ballot into that separate box. Okay, and that's why they're finding a lot of ballots in these machines that weren't counted. Guess what? In Antrim, they didn't use in Michigan. They did not use QR codes at all. Paper ballots with ovals, with reversal rates in Antrim alone from 30 to 86%, with no QR codes.
And now it all makes sense.
30 to 86%. Banks Township was 86% on election day. So, guys, that's without a QR code. The reversal rate is there. We know it's there, and they use the exact same model of ICP that's being used in Georgia. I can tell you that. I've been both places. It's the same model, ICP.
Can you explain to the people how a machine like this can take a ballot, read it, kick it out for an error, and then accept it when it's reinserted?
Well, yeah, that's what it's doing, and that's what this is crazy in my mind. It's really crazy. If a ballot is reversed, there needs to be a good reason for it. Now, sometimes there is. Sometimes there's an overvote, and it comes back and says, you overvoted. Do you want to accept this? Do you want to reinsert it? And the answer might be, oh, I screwed up. Okay, I'm going to go spoil this. I'm going to go to an election judge. I'm going to spoil this ballot. I'm going to get a new one. And I'm going to revote without an overvote. Okay, that's something they can do. That's a good feature to have. But when these things reverse and don't give you any reason why they reversed it, but they reverse it, and then you put the exact same ballot in again, and it takes it, you got to stop and say, wait a second. And you see this happening on a 15%, 20% rate. I looked at your spreadsheet, Kevin, in Georgia, across these counties, and we saw it at an even higher rate, the same thing in Antrim, Michigan. You got to stop and say, wait a second, machines should not behave this way. That makes no sense to have it kick a ballot out and then you just put it in a second time and it goes, oh yeah, I love it this time.
Well, yeah, look at Fayette County right here. So Fayette County had 31,000 ballots that were cast, and the total slog errors that were found in those files was 9,248. Those machines must have just been vomiting, ballots back out.
Well, look at Irwin, 51%. Now, folks, I want you to look. This is what they compiled all the errors that they found in the slog files. They put it into a spreadsheet here, and it goes by county. Up at the top here, it's sideways, and I know it's kind of difficult. I'm going to make this full screen. It's kind of difficult, but the first column here is ballot format unrecognizable. Image cast scan could not find QR code on the ballot. QR code signature mismatch. Ballot size exceeds a maximum expected ballot size, and scanner transport error. And those are slog errors. And then you have reversals that says ballot has been reversed and ballot not cast. And so you look at the numbers here, like Barrow County, for example, 8,823 ballots cast, 578 rejected for ballot format or ID is unrecognizable, 382 for image scan could not find QR code on ballot, 50 for QR code signature mismatch, 360 for ballots maximum size exceeded, and 313 for scanner transport error, for a total of 1,683 errors, or 19%. 19%. Folks, these numbers are astronomical. And this is why when I read that, let me see if I can pull it up here. When I read that, oh man, I have to add.
Brian, the haters that are out there are going to say it's just a small number. Look at the total number of ballots that were cast. People need to understand this. This was a primary. There's not a huge number of people that are voting in primaries. What you need to be focused on is the error percentage rate. And you correctly pointed out, Irwin County had a 51% error rate. There's no excuse for that.
And guys, during the November 2020 election, we saw high error rates, okay, in Antrim. We did testing down in Coffee County. That's why they have me on video down there. I was asked to come in and help understand why the machine behaves so badly and how they got it fixed and so on. And so we were directing some testing, and the ladies there did it, the election officials, Ms. Hampton. It was in her possession. But nevertheless, we saw their machines reversing with ballots made by their BMD. Official ballots made by their BMD were reversing at a 15 to 20% rate, something like that. There's no excuse for that, where they reverse and then you put it in a second time, sometimes a third time, and then it would take it. That there's something wrong with the programming, or there's something wrong with the equipment. We don't know what it is. Because you can take alternative actions, just because it kicked it back out and you got to put it again and maybe it even counted correctly, doesn't mean that feature, whatever it is, it's not a feature, that problem in a big county where it's programmed differently, it may be programmed to throw those same errors into an adjudication bin. Okay.
But as a vulnerabilities tester, Jeff, I want to go back to that quote. Yeah. A human error is, a deliberate action made to look like a natural error.
Yeah. And they've conditioned people. See, this is one of the things, actually, Halderman actually points it out in his report in Antrim, that people can get conditioned to an error and they're just used to it, so they ignore it. He points it out. So, we've conditioned people. Well, if it reverses it, we'll just feed it again. It might take it the second time. Oh, it did. Okay, everything's fine. No, everything's not fine. It's not fine that 30% of your ballots or 20% of your ballots are being reversed for no reason. That is not fine. There's something wrong with the system, with the software, with the hardware You need to find out what it is. Ballots should not be just being reversed. And then they'll give you some cock and bull story about, well, the humidity is high, so you need to bag your ballots and take them out at the last minute before you give them to a voter to vote, because high humidity will cause them to reverse. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't hold water. It's not going to, pun intended, that doesn't hold water. High humidity is not going to do that. Or cleaning. Machine's not clean. They'll say that. No.
I went to high school. I went to high school in the 80s. All right. I don't remember Scantron machines ever getting that many errors. I don't ever remember my teacher coming back and going, we're going to have to grade these things ourselves because the Scantron's down.
That's a good analogy. My parents wouldn't have bought that either.
Let me play for you guys a video, and this is part of the story that I wrote on Floyd County. This video is from Heather Mullins. This is on November 3rd, 2020. And for context here, folks, the man in the suit and tie, as well as the man in the coat here, I believe, are both on the Floyd County Elections Board. And the guy back here in the blue is a Dominion technician. Now, I want you to notice the first thing the Dominion technician says. And then I want you to notice this guy in the suit look back over at him, get an answer, and then listen. All right, so I'm going to play this. I have to mute myself here. All right, here we go. This is just a couple minutes.
Print it out. Do we have a reason, explanation why the votes?
So there's no concrete, just to get it on the record, there's no concrete explanation as to how those 2,700 votes were not counted by the machine in the first place?
We don't know. I mean, we can't. They're not in there anywhere. So we don't know why they did get scanned in there.
So have the Dominion tech guys that have been troubleshooting here all day been able to figure out why they weren't in there?
They're not allowed to comment.
They're not allowed to comment.
And you're not allowed to comment.
All right.
It's just.
But as of right now, you can also not confirm that it was a memory card or anything of that nature as well, right? Because that hasn't been confirmed, to my knowledge, by anyone here.
I don't think it was a memory card. You?
I don't think it was a memory card.
So it was, we can rule out memory
Rule out a
cards.
memory card that wasn't
Yeah,
scanned.
okay, it seems like it's human error.
The only thing, I have to stop it here for just a second, guys. The Dominion guy says I can't comment when he's asked what could have caused this. But he can comment, but he can comment and say it's most likely human error. Do you guys not see the glaring hypocrisy in that right there? I can't comment unless it's to make sure that I don't put any shade on Dominion voting. And I should have prefaced this, guys. This is Floyd County, November 3rd, after the November 16th, when they went through and they found the 2,600 ballots. This is the trying to figure out what the heck happened. And I believe by this point, Gabriel Sterling already blamed it on a memory card publicly, I believe. What's that, Kevin?
I believe you're right.
Yeah, he did. I remember that.
Gabriel Sterling already, the private contractor that was getting paid $200,000 on a private contract and then went back to work for the Secretary of State's office where we could FOIA him again. All right, let's play the rest of this.
It seems like it, but what's the evidence that would indicate it would be a human error issue?
The ballots didn't transfer over like they should have, and that could have been dealing with how whatever programmer programmed them. But at this point, we really don't know, so that's why.
Could it also potentially be a software issue?
We're not going to speculate at this point.
But you just said it could potentially be a human error. That was speculation.
Correct. So that's why.
So then it could.
Types of different questions.
I'm just
really
trying to
give you. I know what you're trying to do, and we really don't have it pinpointed right now. Like, we want to be able to give you the exact answer on what happened.
Absolutely.
I'm not able to do that. Right
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
You gotta love Heather Mullins.
I was about to give.
Bulldog.
I was just giving Heather Mullins mad respect. She's at Real America's Voice right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Heather Mullins, Real America's Voice, guys. Look her up. She is incredible.
Mullins.
Heather Mullins. Did I say Mick Mullins?
No, she's under her handle is Talk Mullins.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So listen to what they say right there. They didn't transfer over. We don't know. They weren't on the scanner, and now all of a sudden they're there. You know, the memory card issue is automatically like, let's jump into the memory card right away so as not to cast any doubt and discrepancy on what might have actually happened. Unpack that for me, David. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
That's okay. I had my little bourbon ice cube that was getting down here, but it's at this point right now, it's obvious what was going on. This Williamson error is what caused those ballots to be inside the machine and not be counted. I mean, to me, it's very clear. What blows my mind is that there was a Dominion tech, I think, in every county. Help. Yes. I mean, so who in the hell's running the elections? Are we running the elections, or is Dominion running the elections? And I know that in Gwinnett County, there's an affidavit from Alice Olenek, where she said, in November 2020 on election night, the machines in Gwinnett County just shut down like at 10:30, and Dominion had to fly somebody out from Denver, Colorado in the middle of the night to try and fix it.
Well, it wasn't only shut down. In fact, there's another affidavit by a lady named Marilyn Marks, who you may recognize the name. She's with the Curling Plains. But she recognized this anomaly herself, or an anomaly, in which 1,600 ballots were not counted.
You're right.
And
in Gwinnett County.
In Gwinnett County in 2020, she herself filed the declaration. Do you have that, Brian?
I do. I'm trying to find it real quick. Keep going.
She turns it into the court and acknowledges that there's a problem, and it's never been resolved. It's never been explained, and it's a problem.
I have Hursty's. I think this. Oh wow, it's going to do this to me. Hold on. I gotta. Yeah, it's gonna try and open it. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Can I share my screen? I've got it up for you.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry about this, guys. This is where amateur hour kicks in.
There you go.
All right. So this is Marilyn Marks.
Correct.
Declaration. It says a few days later, a statewide hand count audit of the presidential race was conducted. I was an authorized monitor of the audit process in several counties in Gwinnett, including Gwinnett. According to the audit summary published by the Secretary of State, attached hereto as Exhibit 1, during the audit, Gwinnett discovered 1,642 more ballots than were originally counted. This confirmed my belief that over 1,600 ballots had not been counted, even after Dominion made real-time software changes and the Gwinnett Board of Elections certified the results.
Now think about that for a minute. Real-time software changes in front
not
of
connected to the internet.
Right. Real-time software, but no internet connections whatsoever.
Well, they flew somebody in, and they actually watched him circumvent, and that's in Harry Hursty's as well.
Yeah,
they watched him circumvent the system.
Yeah, look, if you've got Dominion representatives in every one of these locations, and that's my understanding too. I heard that about Coffee County, that they had 2 Dominion people there, and I talked to some other counties, and they had Dominion people there for the election. They don't need to be connected to the internet. They can sit there, and if they're allowed to plug in a USB stick or whatever, they can download it from whatever source onto something they have in their possession and then go plug it in. And we heard stories about them doing that. Look, if you cannot go in and just be changing the software on election night, I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't. Mr. Lenberg, if there's a problem with the software, you stop. You stop right there. You don't go in and patch the software. This is certified systems. This is certified software. You don't go patch the software on election night. That's total absurdity. That's illegal. That's totally. Everybody just goes, "Oh yeah, okay, fix it." No. I have the same question in Berry County up in Michigan. On election night, you guys have heard this, 10 o'clock at night or something like that, Rocky De La Fuente is ahead of Trump and Biden. He's got over 8,000 votes. And by the end of the next day, he's got like 35. Okay. How did that get fixed? Why was that reported wrong to start with? How did that get fixed? Did someone stick a stick in there that changed the software, that patched the software to make it fix it? I don't know, but it's got to be investigated. It absolutely has to be investigated to find out. So I understand why Darleaf and their folks up there wanted to look at that stuff. They really need to know, how did that happen in our county? There's an affidavit signed with a screenshot.
That's a hell of a story. That's a hell of a story to tell your grandkids. I was beating Donald Trump for a couple minutes. If you got that screenshot,
a woman up there, I think she was from that party, happened to get a screenshot. My guy's winning. Rocky's winning. And then when you find out the analysis that we did, and I, Halderman said, "Oh, it was a shift," and we look, and sure enough, there's a shift in there. Guess what? When you do the shift, the Antrim shuffle, I call it, where Jorgensen gives his votes to Trump, Trump gives his to Biden, Biden gives his to who? The bottom of the straight party ticket is where it should go if the indexes are shifted. You know who the bottom of the straight party ticket was?
De La Fuente.
Rocky De La Fuente. He was the bottom of the straight party ticket. So if you shift all the indices, what's supposed to happen? Rocky's supposed to get those votes. Yeah. Ha! Maybe we know how Rocky got those votes. The question is, how did someone fix that? How did that magically go away? Did someone patch the software? What did they do? Okay.
If you want to accept their explanation, you'd also have to accept the fact that their explanation would yield material errors in other races. So other people's races were affected, and they knew that, and they walked away.
And they didn't even hand count them. And then they gaff it off into DeKalb County, Georgia. I want to read, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is this Marilyn Marks as well?
Yes.
Okay. But based on contemporaneous discussions with Mr. Hursty, who was watching Mr. Moreno's actions and computer screens, it appeared that Mr. Moreno made software code changes in real time. This isn't what I just read, right? No, in real time to circumvent the problem, to force the system to process most, but not all, of the uncounted ballots. After most of the most of the ballots were processed and counted, Gwinnett quickly closed and certified the election. I estimated that at the time the election was certified, at least 1,600 ballots remained uncounted. I asked county officials repeatedly in emails and on site for an accounting of these ballots, but received no response. So, just to attest again to the on-the-fly changes, which is very reminiscent of Coffee County.
Unacceptable.
No, it's absolutely unacceptable. But in Coffee County, we saw the same thing, with Misty Hampton, where Mr. Cheney, I think it was Eric Cheney, the at the time the chairman of the election board in Coffee County, told the Dominion Tech there, which again, a Dominion Tech for everybody, told the Dominion Tech there, get your boss on the phone. You got 30 minutes to fix the machine, because it was doing this rejecting. It was every other ballot almost, or, 1 out of every 4 was being rejected. And he told him, you got 30 minutes to fix the machine. The guy went outside, got on his cell phone, talked to Scott Tucker, his boss at Dominion, came back inside and said, try the machine. It'll work. I think it'll work this time. And they tried it, and sure enough, it worked and carried out the rest of the night without a problem. And right. And to which Kathy Latham and Misty Hampton, all kind of said to each other, like, did y'all just see what we think we saw? Like, did that guy just go out there and fix it with a cell phone from outside of the building? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't sit right. These machines are air gapped. We just heard John Poulos say it again yesterday, that these machines are air gapped. They don't connect to the internet. He told us.
Here's
we don't see any video for that.
He's mincing words, guys. He's mincing words. Let me explain. So I got the model number of that ICC. All right. And this is their standard. Apparently, it's a Dell computer. On that motherboard is a Wi-Fi and a Bluetooth on the motherboard. Doesn't necessarily mean it's connected to the internet, but it means it can connect to a local Wi-Fi, and it can connect to a Bluetooth phone. Okay, or any other Bluetooth device. So, maybe when he said, "Oh, it wasn't connected to the internet," maybe it wasn't. But maybe what happened was they downloaded something to the phone on this guy, and then he uploaded it to the computer to change it. Okay, over Bluetooth or over Wi-Fi. By the way, on that Bluetooth capability on that board, it has the ability to wake up periodically and go out and look for a Bluetooth to connect to it. Normally, you have to initiate a connection, right? Well, the computer can initiate the connection on a schedule. It can go out and look for a Bluetooth connection, okay, and then connect to it if it's there. That feature should never be in a voting machine. This is a high-speed scanner to do large numbers of ballots. It should not be there, okay, but it's there. It's there in those machines. That's one of the problems with those ICCs, is they have connectivity that should not be there. And it sure appears to all of us that they used it on election night, which is why Misty Hampton and their board decided to look into it. They had every right to, in fact, they had a duty to try to figure out what in the world's going on with this equipment when they did that kind of thing to it on election night.
And now
Wouldn't those same symptoms be indicative of some type of malware?
It could be. It very well could be. By the way, another detail on that, we mentioned the Dominion people on site. Ms. Hampton pointed out to me that she didn't have her normal 2 Dominion people there, or the ones that had been in the previous election. During the runoff, they actually sent some people in. One of them was from Detroit, Michigan.
Oh.
Detroit, Michigan. Why in the world was a Dominion rep from Detroit, Michigan in Ms. Hampton's office on the runoff night? That's kind of bizarre.
Okay. Might have something to do with their outspokenness.
Perhaps. I want to play. Well, first off, let me get this video ready to go. But while we're on that, so we have this QR code. We have these ballots that are found after the fact during the hand count. Gwinnett found ballots. We know Floyd found ballots. Fayette County, a bunch of counties. Have we heard any other examples? I know you guys tried to get poll pad check-ins and compare that with what was counted in those particular precincts. Were you guys able to find any evidence there that might suggest that there were ballots kind of, let's call it a cache, they're in like a cache, like an extra folder just in case you need them? Is there anything that would suggest that?
There's extra ballots that there's extra people checking in early voting in 4 locations in Fulton County based on the recap sheets.
So okay. So what you're saying there, and let me see if I could pull this up. But you're saying there's 4 counties in Fulton
precincts,
yeah. Right? That's not. I'm sorry, not 4 counties. 4 precincts in Fulton that had more check-ins than votes that were tabulated.
Votes cast. That's correct.
Votes cast.
What were the kind of numbers, Kevin?
They would fluctuate because they would overnight they would change. They have to record the numbers at night and then again in the morning, and somehow they would change.
Really?
Yeah, and then we these are recap sheets. These are handwritten because they didn't have any. They didn't have any poll pad list. They didn't have any opening 0 tapes for the machines. So we went to try to get every record we could find. Strangely enough, they stopped using these recap sheets where you record the numbers, and these 4 polling locations, the only reason that we have those is because they had some veteran poll managers who knew that they've always done it that way, so they were recording the numbers every day. That's the only reason we have them. But the Secretary of State has stopped having that process done, and they're completely relying on the poll pads now.
And just to explain to you folks that are listening right here, what you're looking at here is the gray bar is the poll pad recap. That means that's people that made it all the way up to the front of the line and checked in to vote. All right. The yellow is the batches loaded, and the blue is the scanner recap. So that's, the scanner recap and the batches loaded are the people that actually voted. And so what these numbers would suggest right here is that at the Benson Senior Center, 8,288 people checked in, but only 8,150 voted. So 138 people decided not to vote after waiting in line, checking in, and getting up to the thing. And then they said at the scanner or the Dominion ICX machine, the BMD, they said, you know what, I'm not going to vote. And they walked away. Alpharetta Library, 17,886 checked in, but only 17,267 voted. There's another one right here. The Etris Rec Center, 3,454 checked in, 3,400 voted. Ponce de Leon, 10,855 checked in, but only 10,525 voted. Now, that doesn't mean that if our theory on this is correct, I mean, those ballots could still be marked as something else, right?
Another location.
There is another possibility, guys, to be in all fairness here.
Okay.
And these numbers look pretty big, but in all fairness, if in some states, if you put a write-in candidate, the write-in candidate has to be validated. So they get shoved off into that extra bin and they have to be manually looked at. Okay. So they would not be tabulated right away. They would be tabulated later. Now, I don't know if the numbers you're showing there show the later tabulation or not, that they were looked at, but quite often they have to be looked at separately. Now, the number
here
of people
in Georgia, they do process them through the BMD, and they flag them for adjudication if they have write-ins. But this is after everything has been
okay
reconciled.
After they've sorted those out. Okay.
Yep.
So I didn't know that. So if they've already sorted out the ones with write-ins, and this doesn't include any of the write-ins, then you got a problem. That means that ballots have been probably diverted into that other bin. Now, you don't know why they've been diverted into that other bin, but they've been diverted in some fairly high numbers. And you kind of have that indication on the chart that you were showing, if you can pull that back up, that showed the reversals and the error rates and so on, that summary chart. I don't know if you guys realize this, but whenever you have an error, it should cause a reversal. So if you have more errors than you have reversals, there's a problem there. That means, when an error occurs, a reversal should occur, or the ballot was stuck in the other box. So if you look at those numbers, if you pull that chart up, not that one, the one that had the spreadsheet.
Oh, the spreadsheet. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yeah, the spreadsheet that had the reversals on it, the different errors and such. And what I'm noticing is that, there's hundreds of ballots, depending on the location, that seem to have gone somewhere else. If they're reversed, you can put them in again.
All right. So
but every time there's an error, there's either a reversal or the ballot is something's done with the ballot, right? I guess it's supposed no. If there's an error, there's a reversal. If it didn't reverse, then it could have likely shoved the ballot into that separate section of the ballot box. There's a separate path through the ICP to stick it in this other location where it's supposed to be manually looked at. Okay. So if you look at your numbers where you say reversals, that left-hand column under reversals, ballots has been reversed, like that very first one, 1,243.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go over and look at the total errors in the S-log file, 1,683. If there's one error per ballot, and I don't know that for certain if you've compounded them or not, but if there's one error per ballot, there should be a reversal for each one of those. And so if you subtract those two, that's 440 ballots that may have ended up in that bin. That's like 5% of that vote.
That's an interesting
in that particular one. So I'm just saying possibly those are ballots that got stuck off into the other bin. Now, you were given large numbers of ballots that were being found, on the video and stuff that you were just showing. It could be for this very reason, that something went wrong, an error occurred, but instead of reversing it, it shoved it into the bin and didn't count it at all. Like ballot unrecognized or something like that. If it's totally unrecognized, these machines are programmable. So you can program it as to what it's going to do when an error occurs. And it can be programmed in a gazillion different ways. And I'm pretty sure one of those is on certain errors, depending on the error, you might want to shove it into that separate box. We know they do that with a provisional. That was the Williamson thing. But there are other things they can do that as well, automatically shove it into that box.
Yeah, or second error options. They have it where the second time it hits an error, you can do something different, which is insane to me.
And Kevin, you also found, this is unique from the Williamson report, you also found these errors not just on the ICPs but also on the ICC, which is,
That's correct.
For those of you that don't know, the ICP is the image cast precinct. So that's the tabulator that's at your local precinct, whereas the ICC is the image cast central, which is the central machine for the entire county.
Well, it's like the high-speed scanners at State Farm Arena.
Yeah,
right,
the ICPs are slow speed. They'll do about, like, depending on the length of the ballot, they'll do a ballot, 5 or 6 per minute. They can do typically in that ballpark. The ICCs will do like 100 ballots per minute. They're high-speed scanners. It's really just an off-the-shelf optical scanner, Canon. Okay, so they run very fast, and then the computer does the processing, the Dell computer, and that's what Miss Hampton was showing is, those images aren't processed on the scanner at all. It's an off-the-shelf scanner. It's the software that processes them, and so she could flip votes on anything she wanted to on those images that were scanned in using the high-speed scanner. That's what she was demonstrating, and got herself not in good stead with the voting machine company when she was demonstrating those vulnerabilities before the runoff election.
Yeah, with the board president showing her own board.
Oh yeah, the board was very much involved in that demonstration. They were actively involved in that. Yeah.
All right. So once again, folks, if you guys are just joining us, the first 15 minutes or so, I hammer through this real quick so you guys can get it without having to sit through an hour-long podcast. Basically, Williamson, Tennessee had a major flaw. Erroneous code. Dominion came in. ProVNV, SLI, the EAC drafted a report on it. And it was so bad that Williamson said, we can't use these machines anymore. We're getting rid of them. This is a breach of contract. You violated the safety of the security of these machines. We can't trust them anymore. Well, the EAC told David and Kevin through conversation that Williamson, Tennessee was the only place that had this. Well, they found it now in 64 out of 66 counties in the state of Georgia. Any place else?
You know what? Well, I haven't found any other states that are willing to share, to share their files with us. I've reached out to several counties, New Jersey, California, a lot of different places that are using the machines, and they're basically saying, if you're not a citizen here, we don't have to give you the data.
Okay. Now, I want to talk just real quick. We're going to start wrapping this up here. This is a lot of information, folks. This will be up on the Gateway Pundit either tomorrow or the following day. I'll have an article drafted up. Please, if you guys can jump over to givesendgo.com/election oversight. And these gentlemen they're not stopping here, folks. They're not stopping here. They're going to keep this on. David Cross, David, I want to play to show you guys. I caught this on the tail end yesterday. I caught this on the very tail end, and it's about a minute long.
Counted in every ballot after it.
Hold on. And this was David yesterday at the state election board meeting. Now, David, you sent the state election board in Georgia. You sent them all this information and said you would like to present. Go ahead and tell the story, David.
Yeah, we basically, found out that they sprung a last minute announcement that they were going to have an election board meeting yesterday. They told us on Thursday last week. Normally you get a couple weeks advance notice, maybe a month or something like that. This was just, here it is. And so, Kevin had the idea, hey, let's reach out to Judge Duffy. He's the new chairman. Maybe he'll have an interest. Maybe he'll give us some time, because we were looking to see if they're going to allow public comment or no public comment. And they didn't have any reference to either one. So Kevin found out that they were going to allow, public comment. And then we pushed a little bit further and just said, can you give us 10 minutes, to show you something that's really, really stunning and startling. And Kevin went back and forth, with the chairman, and he ultimately came back and said, if you had gotten this to me sooner, maybe we could have, given you some more time and that kind of thing. And it's just, it's just typical, and I'm not going to sit here and throw, Judge Duffy under the bus or something like that. Okay. But
he threw himself under the bus, David.
He looked really cozy when he was walking out yesterday, talking with Ryan Germany, who unlawfully obstructed us from getting these files. So, it's just the optics are not good.
Ryan Germany was the one on the perfect phone call with Trump and Raffensperger back on January, whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to mute myself on that one.
Yeah. All right. So let me go ahead and play this. I picked it up about halfway through, but I just want you to listen, folks. This is going to infuriate you. Listen to what David is saying, knowing what we've heard tonight. You know, he summarizes this as quickly as he could in 2 minutes. And I want you to listen to the state election board's reaction to this type of information at the end here.
Counted and every ballot after it was not counted until the machine was reset. The EAC, Dominion Pro VNV, and SLI Compliance reported the cause as inconclusive. After a month, Dominion informed the government that the cause was an error in the scanner software. The government asked Dominion to fix it, and a patch was made. As part of the government's investigation, 2 other states that used the same software were notified of the problem, Alaska and Iowa. The EAC tells us there are no other reports of this problem. It is isolated to Tennessee. I remember seeing that exact same error code on Gwinnett County's 2020 primary files when I was researching suspect results for Judge Kathy Schrader. Those Gwinnett files from 2020 showed 84 instances of the Williamson error. We, the election oversight group, asked the U.S. government if the Williamson error was found in any other states or counties. The author, please give me another moment. The author told us there were no reports of the Williamson error anywhere else in the United States. The election oversight group placed open records requests for scanner history files from all 159 counties. Judge, you wanted us to present this information sooner, but we were unlawfully blocked and significantly delayed by Ryan Germany and Blake Evans. As of today, we have only files from 66 of the 159 counties. So far, 64 of the 66 counties reporting have the Williamson error. That's 97% of the Georgia files.
You need to wrap up.
I'll get there. The software causing the error was originally written in 2018. The software has not been updated on any Georgia scanners. The bottom line is our work indicates the precinct scanners in Georgia have not counted ballots accurately since they were installed. The Secretary of State announced that he is going to be removing QR codes from the ballots. That will do nothing to correct the issue.
And I was the last speaker, like he couldn't go like another 40 seconds.
Honor the time limit.
I hope the press will take a look at this. I sent you files. Mark, I hope that you'll report on it.
All right. And then you hear the woman at the end there. They won't.
No, that was Garland.
Oh, that was Garland? Oh, I thought Garland, come on, man. You gotta get a little groan in that voice. So I caught this real time because I was watching the John Poulos segment of it in real time. And I'd stepped away for a minute, and this was like 2 hours later. You got in a car accident on the way to this.
I was trying so hard
we stayed up 2 hours of sleep, got in a car wreck, totaled his car, and still went there and still made it.
And they get up there and you get all the way to the end. You are giving them this is the part that pisses me off. And folks, I hope you guys get pissed off about this as much as I am. You are literally talking to the state election board, the last person to present for the day. They shut the meeting down right after you, the last person to present for the day. And you are telling them that the fatal flaws that you had in Williamson, Tennessee, you have the same exact problem in 97% of the counties that you've looked at. And they tell you to respect the time. Are you kidding?
You know what's even worse? They were there also on the agenda was to give an update on the Coffee County investigation. The Coffee County investigation. This was pertinent to that investigation.
Absolutely.
And what else nobody knows is that at the same time, Misty Hampton was sitting before a grand jury.
You have a woman that is going to be indicted, most likely. And they're going to try and put some conspiracy bullshit charge on her because that's what they do. Conspiracy is like, there is no right to innocent until proven guilty with conspiracy. You somehow have to prove that you didn't have the intention of doing something that they're saying you had the intention of doing. It is an impossible crime to get away from. And she'll only get like a small little, but the point is she's going to have that lingering over her head for the rest of her life because she did the right thing, just like Tina Peters did the right thing, just like they did the right thing when you guys were doing the work up in Antrim County, Jeff. This is insane to think that the state election board sat there and told you to be respectful of the time as you are literally giving them bona fide, solid evidence that they have a major, major problem in Georgia. Disgusting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have 1,700 people watching. Every single person should be writing an email right now to the Georgia State Election Board saying, investigate this now.
Exactly.
Well, I
You
can
know,
tell
and
you,
these-
I've studied
and-
Coffee County issue for 6 months. I've gotten to know those people, and I'm trying to stand up for them because what they did is absolutely what you want your election officials to do. There was a problem. It's documented over and over and over again. This man right here, Mr. Lenberg, he had the machines tested. He didn't touch those machines. He's wise enough to not touch them. He had Misty do it. He found exactly what Misty found and what Kathy Latham saw. That's a problem. They stood up. Nobody listened. Over and over again. Their complaints went unheard.
And the press right now is saying, you know, that a GBI, you know, or not maybe not GBI. I think it's a Secretary of State and, you know, investigator happened to run in, you know, to Jeff when he was down there. And why didn't he do anything to Jeff? Well, he didn't do anything to Jeff because he knew that Jeff was there lawfully.
Yep.
I was visiting Miss Hampton. There's nothing illegal about visiting an election supervisor. I've been in several counties where I was in the election supervisor or county supervisor's office in a restricted office area, you know, escorted in by the local officials. There's nothing nefarious about that, guys. Nothing at all. And the fact that they catch it on camera, of course they do. There's cameras in all those places. We all know that. I mean, there's nothing illegal, nothing wrong with going in and talking to a local official.
And right here you can see Coffee County is being ordered to preserve the following platforms in the possession of Coffee County or a third party: databases, networks, computer systems, including legacy systems, hardware, servers, archives, backup, disaster recovery, basically everything.
And what date is on there, David? What date is that?
Oh yeah. Let's see. So the date on this document is January 5th, and the folks were down there in the office on January the 7th.
So just to clarify what's going on here, folks, I published this on the Gateway Pundit a couple days ago. This is a litigation hold letter. This is binding. If you receive this letter and you delete something or you destroy something that is mentioned in a litigation letter like this, after the fact,
be destroyed.
You can't destroy it. If you destroy it, there's a presumption of guilt in what you destroyed. You know, so if you destroy a cell phone there and they think that there might be information about, you know, so and so committing a crime on that cell phone, then they're going to presume the worst in that situation. And so when this comes out on January 5th, okay, January 5th, remember, this is the night that they had the discrepancy where the Dominion guy went outside, got on the cell phone with Scott Tucker, his boss, and came back inside and fixed the machine without ever touching it. Misty Hampton and those other people, they saw this happen. They said, what the bleep just happened? Did they connect to it remotely? And so what they did was the exact right thing they should have done after getting this letter. And they contacted a professional litigation a forensic imaging firm. Like, this is what they do. They go in there, they document this, they forensically image the machines, they take an image of it, and they keep it in a vault, maintaining chain of custody and everything, so that if it is used in court, Sullivan and Strickland can be called in to say, hey, we you know, this is our duty. This is what we do. We do this specifically for court cases. And so they were paid. They came in, they took the image, they got out. There's no investigating. They're not going through the images. They're not going through any of the data or anything. They just imaged it and they're holding it. That's it.
Yeah, nobody else got it. Not the attorneys, nobody else.
Yeah.
Not Scott Hall.
You know, I wasn't there for the imaging guys, but if you watch the videos and all the news stories that they had on it, you know, the narrative out there was, you know, Kathy Latham, she let these people in, operative, she's in there. Look, she's in the space. She's in the restricted space. She said she wasn't there when they were doing the imaging. Well, guess what? The equipment wasn't in that space. It was in a different space. Okay. So they just implied that the equipment was in that space. So I don't know if she was there or not. All I'm saying is they create a narrative, just like they put Doug Logan and I walking in right after the Kathy Latham got there. Well, I never met Kathy Latham, to my knowledge. I don't think I know the lady. It was 2 weeks later, okay? But they cut a video and put us in the same article and ran the loop over and over with us coming in right after Kathy Lathan opened the door and let 2 other people in. And you look at the story, it's clearly intended to make everybody think that Doug Logan and I were there for that particular forensic, access, the breach. It wasn't a breach. They were just doing what legally they were required to do. There was no breach there. And there was no breach of the software up in Antrim either, up in Michigan. That was a legally obtained forensic copy. It wasn't breached. It wasn't stolen off the EMS. It was part of a court case up there.
Is this how it was done?
That was you, Jeff.
That's standard technique, by the way. they train everybody on how to do that. Can you imagine an old guy like me? No way. We let the young guys do that kind of stuff, huh? But
go ahead, Kevin. You want to add something?
Yes. The irony is, if that hadn't taken place and they hadn't imaged it, then coffee would be amongst all the other counties, just like Fulton County and everywhere else, where they don't have any images. They don't have any data. We can't tell what happened there because it's been destroyed. These people preserved, not destroyed. And I believe the law says you can't destroy it. These people preserved it. Go look at Fulton County and ask them where their data is.
I want to.
They can't find it.
Yeah, right.
No, they already admitted destroying it. They're like, too bad, so sad.
We're going to go through all this real quick. I want to wrap up within the next, 10 minutes or so. But real quick, I do want to get, there's a Rumble rant here from Dr. Hine001. Says, thank you for your incredible work in unveiling all of this fraud to date. Lives are on the line. Thousands of lives have been lost as a result of failure to correct this fraud. Ukraine, J6, etc. Need to use the True to the Vote cell phone ping to unveil all of the other frauds, such as alleged PPE bomber, missing trailer of ballots in Lancaster. Yep. Backdoor ballots in Detroit. Yep. ASAP Patriot Games, October surprise. I'm with you. What I want to do, folks, is we're going to go just kind of an overview of all the data and not just data, but the circumstantial stuff that's either missing or wasn't provided to you guys in Georgia through open records to show you that the only thing that we have left, and Georgia does still have their ballots for another 2 months by law. We don't know that they actually have them, but they have a 24-month law, not the 22-month 52 U.S. Codes 2071. They have a 24-month law. So technically, they should still have the ballots until November 4th, 2022. So before we get into that, I want you guys to jump over one more time to givesendgo.com/election oversight. All right. And I want you to donate to these guys. If it's $5, whatever it is, they just started this Give Send Go. I don't want to say GoFundMe. They just started it. Kevin and David have been working for the last year and a half, but on this aspect specifically for what, like 6 months now? On the slogs and all this?
Right here, yeah, on the slog file since I think we first discovered it in March. And it just took forever, to figure out, where do we get the files? Do they have the files? How do we ask for them? Just everything.
Yeah. Over every day, asking them. And you experienced it in Floyd.
Yeah, exactly. I was Floyd, DeKalb, and 2 other counties that I've requested, and through the Secretary of State. They stonewall you on everything, folks.
We've got tons of counties. We have tons of counties. Actually, in Georgia, there are tons of counties that are very forthcoming and very accommodative, and they'll give us the files either for free or for like $18 or $21. I mean, I've written so many damn checks for $18 and $31 and $35, that kind of thing. But again, there are some other counties that are out there, like even Forsyth County wanted $836. I think that's what they wanted, and there were tons of counties out there that are just asking for the exorbitant amounts of money for us to verify our own elections. It's insane.
And so, folks, if you go over to the Give Send Go, scrolling across the bottom there, this is not the end. You guys do plan on bringing forward litigation and everything in this, right?
We do.
Okay, so they're going to need our help, folks. This is the grassroots. This is the grassroots right here. So now, gentlemen, let's go through. So we'll go around the horn and like just each one kind of name something off. And folks, let's try. We'll keep each other accountable and make sure, because everything that we're going to talk about right here has either been acquired through open records or deleted and not given to us through open records. And, I'm going to start off and say that in Fulton County, the fact that we were missing the entire in-person election day ballot images and the SHA files, which are the hash validation files that validate that those images were not altered in any way. So that's the first thing in Fulton County. How many votes is that, Kevin?
For Fulton County, it was 528,000. But I mean, we only have 18,000 SHA files for all of Fulton County for 2020.
16,000 out of the 148,000 ballot images that we have for absentee by mail.
So
there's no SHA files for anything else.
148,000 ballot images, and you only have 16,000. There should be if you have 148,000 ballot images, you should have 148,000 SHA files, and
Correct.
You have 148,000 and 16,000. That ain't right. David, I'll let you go ahead and throw one out there.
As far as like the things that infuriate me, is that what you're asking?
Just either things that you've gotten, evidence that you've gotten and submitted, like your risk limiting audit. You could talk about that, the duplicates and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the risk limiting audit was really kind of interesting because that's where my work in this whole thing started, and I had some help from some other folks, and we put it all together, and we presented it, and it kind of fell flat because the mainstream media didn't want to pick it up, and I don't even call them mainstream media. I call it the mockingbird media now at this point.
I call it.
And so eventually what ended up happening was a guy named Joe Rossi from Perry, Georgia, reached out to me and said, "Now, how did you get this? And what are your sources for the information?" And I told him, I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I just want to verify your work." And he came back to me 2 weeks later and he said, "I found even more than you did. And I want you to come down and talk with the former governor, and we're going to have a conversation about it." And so, this has been ongoing. This has been exhausting. And like I said, I mean, I got in a wreck yesterday. My favorite car got totaled. And the crazy thing is so yesterday morning when I woke up, I left my house really early, got to the office by like 7 o'clock. My timer said 7:45 you need to leave because it's going to take an hour to get down there. At least that's what Waze said. When I got in my car at 7:45, the traffic pattern had changed, and Waze said, "I'm going to reroute you because the old route is going to take an hour and 50 minutes, to get you there." And all I could think was, the universe does not want me down there today. And I said, "By God, I'm going to get down there anyway." Still got in a car wreck, got into an Uber, after my car was towed away. Finally got down there, missed 2/3 of the meeting. And then finally had a chance to get up there and present this stuff. But I mean, my passion is making sure that the people know that they're getting screwed. These machines don't work. And we were joking around before this whole thing started that, I don't understand why we don't have like 10th grade high school students, counting these things. I mean, there's so many high schools, around here. You could just have everybody vote at their local high school. You don't have to have 2,000 person precincts. You could just do it every damn high school. And have 10th graders count it. They'd probably have it done same day.
Kevin, what you got?
I just gave you the 2 emails or 2 images.
The 2 images. Where'd you send them to me?
Signal.
Oh, in Signal. Hold on, I got to open that up. I didn't have that open.
Do you like my avatar?
Well, in the meantime, let me pull this screen up for you guys. And David, I'll let you explain what this is. I know you know. While I get Kevin's image ready to go. I know you know what that is.
Oh my God, I haven't seen this in so long. Yeah, this is there's no audit log. In this particular ballot, the vote was just simply changed. You've got to vote for Donald Trump on the left and Joe Jorgensen on the right.
Well, it was changed because it was changed from the initial count on the left to the recount on the right, and they made the recount an overvote.
Right. So, folks, what you're seeing here is a ballot that literally from the original count on the left to the machine recount on November 24th, whatever it was on the right, somehow that ballot has a vote added to it to create an overvote, which cancels out the Donald Trump vote. That Joe, and this is a pixelated version. David has all the, the perfect. Is See For Yourself back up and running yet?
I think it is. I mean, that's not my website, but I think it is running.
Well, the See For Yourself website, you can see the actual like high resolution pictures of these individual ballots. And the way they did it was deceptive, folks. You see up here at the top, it says tabulator 955 compared to tabulator 950, batch 205 compared to batch 395, ballot 27 to ballot 1. What they were hoping to do here, and this is just my opinion, I'm speculating here, what they were hoping to do here is shuffle up the ballots between one count to the next so you could not take ballots and compare them side by side. The only reason that this ballot got picked up is because if you look up here in the top right-hand corner, somebody hand wrote 9027 DUP right there. And then when they were going through them, they saw 9027 DUP. And they were able to say, hey, that looks familiar. Let's compare these two images. And they were able to see that this was added. This was in Cherokee County, Georgia. I wrote an article on the Gateway Pundit about this about 3 weeks ago. And it's unfortunate because Professor David Clements spoke to the Cherokee County Board of Elections that night. If he would have seen this, he would have had an extra, round, so to speak, in the chamber going up against that, an extra ammunition going into that meeting. And Jeff, you saw something like this out in New Mexico, correct?
I believe so. I think Aaron Clements is an example that's similar, where, she actually has a ballot that has, when you look at it very carefully, and I think they actually physically had access to it. If it's hand counted, it indents, and if it's machine printed, it's on the surface. It doesn't indent like a pen or a pencil or whatever, like an instrument does. And they have an example of that. They also have one that there was bleed through on some of the ballots that people accidentally or for whatever reason used a permanent marker. And we saw this in Maricopa where, Sharpie Gate, where that occurred. Well, if you use a marker, it bleeds through to the other side, and you can see it when you scan on that back side. You see the bleed through. Well, what happens when you have a ballot that bleeds through one way and doesn't bleed through the other way? There's a problem here.
Yep.
Yes.
How can that be that ballot that was filled out front and back bleeds through one way and doesn't bleed through the other way? I can tell you, I've seen a lot. I was in Maricopa involved in that. I saw a lot of bleed through ballots. I analyzed that stuff. It didn't really make an effect, by the way, other than what some people are saying. It did not, in my opinion, make an effect the bleed through. I think it was just thrown in there to confuse people and give something for people to chase after, which didn't really change the vote. But what I can tell you is it bled through the ballot both ways. Okay. I can see when they used a Sharpie, you get bleed through both ways. It's not a one-way ballot where it bleeds one way and doesn't bleed the other way.
Right.
And we have images of ballots that are bled through one way and not bled through the other way. That's impossible.
Yep.
Okay.
My understanding is the authentic ballot paper is not supposed to allow bleed through.
Well, the vote secure paper in Maricopa was not, and that was part of the testimony that Ken Bennett and Chairman Bill Gates gave in front of under oath. And one said vote secure paper was used throughout the election, and Ken Bennett said no, there was at least 10 different types of paper that were used in the election. Both of them were under oath. So I'm not a rocket scientist here, but if both of them said, if one said only one type of paper was used and the other one said no, 10 types of paper were used, somebody's lying here. Somebody's lying here.
Yeah,
the other thing
with Sharpie Gate, I'll just tell you, since we're on that for a second, looking through all those ballots, most places there's actually, a copyright statement on the ballot, and most ballots, if you look at them, will actually say on the ballot somewhere, use a blue or black pen. All right. In Maricopa, they didn't say that, except I found a ballot that had that on the ballot image.
Interesting.
Really?
That's interesting. How did I find a ballot that for Maricopa that said print, use a black or blue pen, and yet the huge majority of them didn't have that on the ballot.
That's very bizarre.
That's very strange. How did that occur? At one point, they had an image that had that on there because I found one. I didn't look at all the ballots. I mean, there's millions of ballots there, but I found one that had that printed on the ballot.
Yep.
That's interesting. All right. Kevin, let's go ahead and we got your stuff up here now. Go ahead.
This was an email that I sent to Rick Barron about another issue about overlapping tabulator tapes on the same serial number. But on the bottom, I was asking him about the tabulator tapes, and he said he was going to ask Dominic, as you can see there. And I asked him, could you ask him about the 16,034 Shaw files that we have? Where's the remainder? And
oh, wrong way. All right. And did you get a response to that?
Yes, dropped it in there. Dominic, he actually didn't respond to me, but he did respond.
Did I not pull that up? Hold on. Give me a second. Oh, I didn't pull that one up.
Dominic said, how did they get the Shaw files?
That's right. That's essentially what he said. All right. Hold on. Let me pull that one back up.
How, where, and when?
Yeah, I'm still waiting, Dominic.
Yeah, you'll probably be waiting a long time for that. Just throwing that out there.
And everybody says that, well, the Shaw file is not a good secure method because it can be replaced. That's true. It can be replaced. But what's sad is when they don't replace it because they're too lazy, I guess. Have pride in your work, Dominic.
Yep, there you go. I need to know what Shaw files he's referring to and from whom did he receive these files and when. That's the Dominion Tech who now works for Fulton County. Funny how that works. All right, what are we looking at here, Kevin?
That's kind of where it all began. With our good friend Melissa helped us, pointed us to this. It was in a funding line where we were looking at the emergency budget for Fulton County. And if you noticed, that invoice is dated October. I'm sorry, it's not an invoice. That is a quote dated October 15th. And it is for 770,000 absentee by mail ballots, no envelopes, 2 weeks before the election. And they did, in fact, receive those and more before the election. So, and David pointed this out to Chairman Duffy the other day. There is enough time to order paper ballots, throw away the scanners, and this proves it.
Well, they got these ballots on October 30th, I think, is when they were delivered. So they didn't get mailed out for a November 3rd election. No way. Go ahead, Jeff. You want to say something?
Yeah, I recognize Runback from Maricopa.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They had their hands all over.
Oh, yeah. They
Georgia.
were very much involved in Maricopa.
Yeah, quick turnaround time.
Right? Very quick turnaround time. And then this one's always my favorite. Where'd it go? This one's always my favorite.
This is from John Pula. I mean, in his honor, John Pula, since he was talking about logic and accuracy testing yesterday. And they have an incorrect statement on their fact-checking page on Dominion's website that says that the county did the logic and accuracy testing in public view, and that is not the case. Dominion was paid $2 million to do the logic and accuracy testing in Fulton County.
Yep. And this is not the only. This is not the only receipt. Oh yeah, we have all the receipts.
They finished it on Halloween.
Hold on, I have all the receipts. Let me pull these up so Jeff can see.
They got paid how much to do logic and accuracy testing?
$2 million for Fulton County.
$2 million.
And they finished on October 31st.
Yep. And it wasn't. I don't think it was public either.
And what's funny is they had no. It was not public, and they had a problem with the software. They caused the delay, and they caused the time crunch, and they charged for it, which is beyond believable.
I'll send you all these, Jeff, if you want to see these.
Oh yeah,
here's another one.
That's astounding.
Here's another one.
They should not be doing LAT testing, guys. I mean, at least I thought the counties were doing their own LAT testing, but to have the voting machine company there doing LAT testing.
Misty Hansen is the only. Yeah.
What's that?
Misty Hampton is the only elections. Misty Hampton is the only elections supervisor that I know that ran her own election, and I've talked to many, many, many.
Wow.
When do you, Jeff? Did you hear about in Lapeer Township, in the 2022 primaries, they had the same issue where they were rejecting ballots at the cyclic rate in Lapeer Township, and it was as soon as they started on election day. The mail-in ballots ran fine, but on election day, when they started running the ballots through, they immediately started rejecting them. And as soon as it rejected it, a warning screen dialog box would pop up on the screen and disappear right away. You couldn't, it wasn't like click OK to continue or anything like that. It would flash and come off, and the ballot would get rejected. And so, they went through this whole thing. They didn't know what the heck it was. I think they ended up saying it was something to do with timing marks or whatever it was. The clerk there, I called the clerk and talked to the clerk, and they said that they did their own logic and accuracy test rather than paying the contractor. And there's apparently a contractor in Michigan that comes around and does the logic and accuracy tests for counties that want to have somebody else do the logic and accuracy test. So, and there's more to that conversation. I think we've had this discussion before about the logic and accuracy test. We won't do that on air, but we've had that discussion before. So this is the problem and this is what I try and do is I try and get people together. And Kevin knows this more than anybody. I get people together to talk about these ideas because not everybody knows what's going on everywhere. And we need to put our heads together in what's going on here, because a lot of this stuff, you'll see one thing happen in Michigan and the same thing is happening in Georgia and the same thing is happening in New Mexico. And we don't know about it until we get all together on this. So this is where we're at. All right. So we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Let's go around the horn and just any closing thoughts or anything we missed that you want to get out there. We'll start with you, David.
I would just tell you that I've spent a huge amount of time, on this thing, and I'm fortunate that I've got the resources to be able to pay for these kinds of things. One thing I can tell you is that my business, I'm a financial advisor. I do investment management and financial planning for people. My business has suffered because of this. I've had people that have left me because they said, I'm just not really comfortable seeing my guy on television, talking about election fraud because, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And so I've lost people, lost clients that have walked out the door, from that. So I would just tell folks, if you're looking for a fresh perspective and you want to work with somebody who's actually, on the team for election integrity, look me up at us-am.com.
All right. us-am.com. I'll actually be talking to you. I got some money I got to put away somewhere. So, Kevin, go ahead, sir.
I just want to thank Mr. Lenberg. Mr. Lenberg has stood up for what's right from day one. Took me a long time to track him down, as you know, Ryan.
I was trying, man.
It's a hard man to get a hold of sometimes.
I am.
But I appreciate his work very much and his help.
And Jeff, anything you'd like to add or any closing words?
Yeah, I want to add on what David was saying and just talk to his case specifically. We've got to do this. I mean, there's this cancel culture out there that anybody that stands up for the truth, they get knocked down. Okay, someone's knocking them down. Well, guys, there are far more people that care about election integrity in this country who are intimidated. They're just on the side, whatever. We need to turn it around and say, look, when you see someone canceled, you need to run to those people. Okay, that's the person you want doing your financial investing, is someone that's got the integrity and the bravery and the courage to speak the truth in the midst of chaos, to be a leader. Those are the kinds of people you want. And so we need to patronize those people. We need to not run away from them. We need to run to them. All right. It's part of what we really need to do if we're going to see the country not go down the hole here. With tyranny, we've got to turn it around. There's just quickly, there's Joe and I talked today about a little bit about the doctrine of lesser magistrates. Came out of the Magdeburg Confession in the 1500s, and the pastors that stood up in Germany by themselves, pretty much one city, they did hold out, and the whole world has changed as a result of their stand. And they actually documented why they did what they did. But they said three things. They said, the bystanders, there's three things you need to do. Number one is you need to pray. Okay. You need to be praying for everybody that's really trying to bring out the truth. Number two is you need to do whatever you can to interpose with higher authorities on behalf of those people that are standing up, that are bringing things to light, that are, standing in the gap for you. You need to stand up for them. And one way you can stand up for them is by doing the opposite. And when they're getting canceled, you go give them business. All right, go give them business. If they're being canceled, that's one way. And then the third thing is any way you can support. If the first two don't work, it's incumbent upon all of us to take whatever God-given skills He's given us and experiences that He's given us and apply those to the situation, whatever it is. And it'll be in different ways for different people, but we all need to do it. We can't sit idly by and let the few stand up for us.
Correct.
Because it won't work. We need everybody standing up together. And if the people in this country stand up together and say, we want to know the truth, we want election systems that are fair and free, and we're not talking about one side or the other or a particular candidate, but we need secure election systems. If we stand up together, we'll get it. If we hide out because we're afraid of being sued or intimidated or arrested by the FBI, calling us domestic terrorists, then they win. Okay,
Right.
The people that are trying to suppress truth think they're going to win. So we need everybody to be supportive and standing up and demanding that things come to light. That's the only way. I mean, everybody should know this inherently. If you hide everything, it's in darkness, and that doesn't make anybody more comfortable or more secure with our election system. If we bring all the anomalies to light, we investigate them, we figure it out, and then we correct, then we can have an election system that we believe in. But right now, the American people don't believe in it. 60% of Americans don't trust the election system. So stand up for those that are trying to bring to light what the issues are and fix them.
Yeah, I mean, when people say, what are they going to do about it? We are they.
Yep.
We are they. It's us. There is
Nobody's
no one
coming
else.
to save us.
All of you guys listening are they. Real quick, David, I know you got to go. Can you wait just a couple more minutes?
Sure.
I do want to give Jeff usually opens up a podcast with a prayer. So I do, since he was on the phone before the beginning, I do want to give him an opportunity to close it out. But I just want to say in closing, folks, we've got almost 1,700 people watching right now. You guys need to get involved and start making these people look at this information. Email, call, whatever, the Secretary of State's office, the county offices, the state election board. Tell them to listen to David Cross's evidence, to look at this evidence and let them present the evidence. That was absolutely disgusting what we saw in that video earlier, where the guy told David Cross, as he's sitting there showing you the corruption, bona fide corruption with sourced from the counties, showing you, this is what's wrong. You guys have a major problem. And all they're concerned about is the meeting minutes and making sure that you don't go over your public comment time. That's absolutely disgusting. That ties into what we saw in Arizona when we had an individual that was at a meeting there as incoming Congress, assembly. And they said, we don't care about the public comment. We make up our mind beforehand. And that's just kind of their own thing. So guys, we need to get involved. You guys need to be out there. GAballots.com. You can see all of these slogs and this information. A lot of it's up right now. The rest of it will be up over the next couple days. And again, if you can, please go to givesendgo.com/election oversight. Donate to these two individuals. They're trying to get this information to a lawyer, to get this into a courtroom, and see if we can actually get something done and hold these officials accountable and get rid of these damn machines and clean up our elections. On that note, Jeff, I'm going to give you the prayer for the final word here.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Okay,
absolutely.
Let's pray. Father God, I just thank you for this time, this evening, this podcast. Thank you for these men and all the work that they've done, Lord. Thank you for their desire that the truth come out and that the election systems and the issues with it are addressed, Lord, so that we can all trust in our election system. We all want that. All Americans need that. Doesn't matter what party you are. Father, we thank you that you're a God of truth and a God of light. And I pray that this podcast would bring that truth and light, and that only truth would be spoken through these kinds of podcasts that we're doing, that no falsehoods would come out, but only the truth. And Father, I pray for all of those that hear these, that are listening, or that they realize that they have a responsibility, really, to support, to stand up, to spread the truth and the light, and not to cower, not to hide out, not to be concerned about being canceled or intimidated by various authorities that seem to be abusing their power right now. So, Father, I just thank you for these men. I pray that this would be very effective, what they did tonight with this podcast, that you would use it greatly in spreading the truth. And we ask it now in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, gentlemen, thank you guys all so much for joining me. Thank you guys all for tuning in and listening. Please share this out. All right, follow us. I don't know. Do you guys have any social media you want to plug? Your GA ballots on Twitter, David Cross.
That's an easy place to go. The funny thing on Twitter right now is I have exactly, I think, like 30. I want to say like 3,200, followers or something like that, and it constantly goes up by 2, down by 6, up by 8. It's always like the same thing.
You need to get on Truth Social.
Issue.
Get on Truth Social.
Okay.
All right. And you guys can follow me at CanCon on any platform. And again, all the links will be down below. Support mypillow.com. Use promo code. Well, I don't want to say the promo code because when this goes on Gateway Pundit, you got to use theirs. So if you're watching this on my platform, you know which one to use. If you're watching this on Gateway Pundit, use theirs. Got to support whoever it is, and also support Mike Lindell. Okay. So again, gentlemen, thank you guys all so much for listening. For everybody out there, share this out. Stay frosty. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Make the fortune cookie country pay for this.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.